Good evening, everybody. Hi, welcome. It is that day and time. We are at Wasteful Wednesday. Hello. Good evening. I'm David Sponheim, and we are America's third party. So if you're wondering what we're doing, this is a nonstop effort to create a third party that will challenge the two-party system in America. And we're not giving up for any reason. And people that are trying to stop us are failing, as I predicted they would. All right. Let us take a look at our chat room. But first, a little intro into what this is all about.
You're listening to virtual interactive chat like you've never heard before. We are discussing issues from both sides of the political spectrum every night. Join us as we take on the two-party system.
All right, we're in. Welcome, guys. We've got our ATP Hong Kong fan base in here. Yeah. We've got the news to check on. We're absorbing the experience we just all had last night. Apparently, Rosenstein was asked if he was on my team. Trump is now trying to dig into the Justice Department and its immunity from his digging in by asking the unheard of in a Russian investigation going on right under his feet. He is now digging at the one person that seems to be behind it. And Rosenstein was asked at that time whether he was on his team or not. So Trump wanted to fire everybody, not just James Comey. He wanted to fire Mueller. He wanted to fire Jeff Sessions at various points, especially after he recused himself from the Russian involvement. And most importantly, this is another critical piece of evidence in the Russian investigation. The very fact that he's been asking people to be on his team, meaning trying to influence the immunity and objectivity of the Justice Department. Unparalleled behavior for a man who clearly doesn't even understand his role in our government, nor the role of the executive branch. Very serious. We must act as a nation now to stop this terrible, corrupt two-party system. Welcome. And anybody who wants to chat over at iVlog, we are up and running, but I don't know if my settings are right. Let me take a look. Apparently I'm not. I'll try to refresh here. Yeah, I have to reload the shockwave. Yeah, it's problematic, but it's worth it to have a guest chat room. Okay, and then checking audio. That's the problem. All right. Audio is up and running at iVlog. Okay, we have not plugged in our RTMP feed, but hello, welcome. Hi, guys. Guess 881 is in. All right. You guys have a hot mic every night. You get to hear me cough and sneeze in the background because we absolutely have to go through our standard settings until we actually hook up the RTMP feed. All right. The Republican train crash. You know, all I can tell you is Trump is trying to lie his way out of this. This is not the way to go. Had I been his attorney, I would have just completely eliminated. Thanks for that, Cesar Fight. I would have completely eliminated the possibility of testifying if I were Trump. Just looking at it from a tactical perspective, I don't have any hard feelings for Trump. I can see that he's a very greedy person. And that's a sad thing because when you see it in life, it's like a disease. And it's the core reason why our country is corrupt now. Because all these people are trying to pad their pockets with their influence in government. The pay to play or pay for play that the Clintons did is being done all across the board at your state and local level. And that's what I encountered firsthand up here in Washington. And I can tell you, this is not a fight that can be fought at a local level. That's why I hit the internet 9 years ago with the intent of building this, and I haven't given up at all. Everyone tries to troll me and spam me and dox me. I've got a dispute with YouTube about our YouTube feed. It's down. So all you can see now is our Vaughn feed. And I didn't upload last night's show because I didn't really want to. I felt that last night's show, even though I have a copy of it, will go into the archives. I was really pissed, and I still am, that Donald Trump is virtually lying and promising the world. This is what a salesman does. This is what a flim-flam artist does. I saw it time and time again in advertising. It's not the truth. It is not what we need. We need sober realities, like we are broke. Our country is so bankrupt, it's unbelievable. And I'm not trying to bring negative news to the stock market because it's doing so well. But that's controlled by the elitists. They control the stock market. They're making sure Donald Trump, if he goes down, they're going to turn the plug down, and they're going to cause a downturn in the economy. The good news is it doesn't affect any of us directly. As long as we have fuel and food in our markets and there's still a capitalist economy brewing underneath, the stock market is relatively irrelevant to the functionality of our nation. So they're playing a really big game where they're buffaloing us into the Ponzi scheme called Trump, where we win. What we get out of it is the branding and all the positive kudos of a robust stock market. And everything he said was completely false. Just a week before, he said that we had $8 trillion. He said we had $3 trillion in excess revenue because of his actions. So in 1 week, our excess revenue because of Donald Trump went from $3 trillion extra revenue in the stock market to $8 trillion. I mean, where is he getting his numbers? All right. So he asked Rosenstein if he was on my team. Rosenstein is pretty smart guy, and he's not about to cave into pressure from the president.
Attorney General went to the White House in December, and then what happened?
So this was a meeting in the Oval Office in December between President Trump and Rod Rosenstein. Don McGahn, White House counsel, was also there, we're told. And at the time, the intent of this meeting was Rosenstein asking for the president's help to block document demands from House Intelligence Chairman Devin Nunes. But sources familiar with this meeting tell us that the president had other things on his mind ahead of Rosenstein's upcoming testimony before a House committee. You may recall that testimony back last December. The president asked Rosenstein where he thought the investigation of links between Russians and his campaign was headed, and he went on to ask whether Rosenstein was, quote, on my team. Now, as a reminder, Rosenstein oversees Mueller's investigation, the Russia investigation. But this is only the latest episode to come to light portraying a president who often asks questions that sometimes crosses a line that presidents traditionally have tried to avoid when dealing with the Justice Department. But this exchange could raise further questions about whether Trump was seeking to interfere in the investigation by Special Counsel Robert Mueller, who was looking into potential collusion by the Trump campaign and obstruction of justice by the White House, Jake.
There we go. That's it. Basically, this is an extension of the obstruction of justice theme.
What exactly is the White House saying about this idea of firing Mueller, and where is this coming from?
Hey there, Anna. Well, all of this is stemming from several comments that have been made by the president and other Republicans more aggressively than the president. Just a few days ago, the president was speaking to reporters and sort of lamenting what he sees as the state of the FBI, saying that it is a shame what has happened to the FBI. He was specifically alluding to some messages that were exchanged between top FBI officials back in 2016 during the campaign that were very critical of the president, among other lawmakers. One of those officials ended up becoming part of Robert Mueller's special counsel after those messages were revealed. That official was since reassigned, but you're hearing growing calls from Republicans arguing that now the special investigation is tainted because of what they see as a political bias that was revealed in these exchanged messages. The response from Democrats is that they feel that Republicans are now going to use this to discredit Robert Mueller's investigation. We heard from Jackie Speer, who is on the House Intelligence Committee. She spoke to a San Francisco TV station, and she said that, in part, quote, I believe that the president wants all of this shut down, alluding to the several investigations in Congress and the special counsel. She said he wants to shut down these investigations and he wants to fire special counsel Mueller.
All right. Yeah. 4 people have said that Trump openly tried to fire Mueller. And the FBI deputy director who's stepping down, McGahn, has actually been, he was part of that, holding the line, not firing Mueller. Ray was instrumental in saying, hey, I'll resign, Mr. Trump, if you try to fire Mueller. So he's on record saying that he wanted to fire Mueller. Trump has lied, and he's lied many, many times, and he lies continuously. I don't know if you've ever met a pathological liar. We've got a few that come into our room, and I'm not going to name names, but they do come in our room. And we kind of give them a little rope to, run with. In the one case, because this young man had a tremendous hair lip problem, obvious disability, I was pretty kind to back off. But at one point, he was saying he was an NSA agent and all kinds of ridiculous things, along with violating the Stolen Valor Act. And we eventually flushed him out with the help, ironically, of Glenn's room. Glenn's room just said, come on, man, you're full of crap, and just confronted him. And Glenn actually did a good thing by kind of putting the brakes on this liar. But Donald Trump is that kind of a liar. He loves to lie. He lied last night. Everything he said, I counted 48 lies. Sure, we want to have a great country. Yeah, everyone wants to have a better nation. Of course we do. But we're not great right now. We're seen around the world as a disaster under Trump, and he's just flat out lying about the statistics that he's bringing to the table. The stock market's doing really well because people are rushing to try to invest so that they don't lose when the dollar drops. Now, the dollar hasn't dropped. Trump boasts that that's his doing. No, that's the doing of the people that put Trump there. They hired Trump to essentially be their spokesman. He is simply a puppet. He doesn't have the people in mind. He's not even thinking about homelessness or the environment. I mean, it's crazy how many disastrous things this guy is all about. I mean, he has this this concept where, F the planet, I'll be dead before anything, It's like he doesn't care about the planet, and that's the resounding reality that this guy is missing the boat. We are in the clutches of weather warfare. Our nation's under attack, and our idiot leaders in the Democratic and Republican Party don't have a clue as to what's happening. And the people that we do trust for our scientific knowledge are our children. Now, I'm not sure where Elon Musk is going with this 10,000 flamethrowers he's buying. Or selling, I should say. I don't even have any clues to what a person like him would be doing with that. All right, so he's the case for obstruction of justice is enough to take to the table to Congress and say, hey, you need to impeach him now. And I want also the investigation into Pence's emails to go on. I want the emails of Pence to be looked into because they're just as private as Hillary's were, and he has not revealed them to the public. He's in gross violation of a public disclosure law requirement requiring Pence to put those things out, and he hasn't done it. So we've got the same problem with Pence. He's got all this garbage on him. Yeah, we're just going to kind of remove you from the show since you're running down my one mod, and I trust him implicitly. So you're kind of going up the wrong angle there. If you guys want to talk about the issues instead of picking on one person, that'd be great. It's like they're fixating on our supporters. We've had people who've been attacked internally. If you're getting IMs from people within your own thing and they're spamming you or attacking you, just disregard the IMs and put the person on ignore. That's one good feature that they have here. Coffee may come with a cancer warning in California. Really? Did not know they're there's some, finding out cancer is coming from coffee. This is news. Okay. Warning, warning. Possibility of cancer from coffee. Warning. It's thumbs up today, but the news on coffee has not always been positive. Take a look at the arguments for and against coffee through the centuries. I don't really have time for that. Oh, some foo-foo liberals tried to sue Starbucks, 7-Eleven, and BP for failing to provide clear and reasonable warning that drinking coffee could expose people to acrylamide. Okay. Well, where does acrylamide come from? That would be nice. No mention of that here. Yeah. It lowers your risk of early death. It may reduce your risk of heart disease, multiple sclerosis, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and cancers like melanoma and prostate cancer. It'll stop that. They say 5 cups a day for 25 years will prevent prostate cancer by 51%. You guys might be concerned about that. I drink coffee for the past 30 years because I believe that, and that study's real. But acrylamide, I'd like to know what that is exactly and where it comes from in the coffee brewing process. I'd like to have no acrylamide, please, in my coffee. Hi, cup of grande Americano, please, with no acrylamide, or I'll sue the crap out of your company. I'm sorry, sir, but we don't know what acrylamide is. Well, nor did anyone else in this coffee house that's being obviously exposed to acrylamide. You can make a scene at the front desk. No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but if you're not clued into the dangers of zero sweetener, like our illustrious brain-dead president, you have no idea. I mean, he's not... Listen, I mean that metaphorically, because technically he pulled off a fairly smooth read on his teleprompter last night. So I got to back off of that. He's not completely brain dead. He did a pretty good read. And I will give you guys, the Republican Party, that much, okay? Acrylamide is a chemical that naturally forms in certain foods, particularly plant-based foods that are rich in carbohydrates and low in protein during processing or cooking at high temperatures. Thank you. I eat glue. Very good checkup on that. Well, let's be clear. None of these shows are telepromptered. I do this on the fly. There's no teleprompter in my show. I don't have an earpiece receiving messages from higher command. My fellow Americans. But I fell asleep last night to that entire thing. It was, he sold America on America. We're already sold that we're a great nation in our own eyes, but in the world's eyes, we suck. I think Trump-Tard Wall will be built probably one brick at a time. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't build a wall. I would build a fence, and a container fence is my idea, obviously. I would never not build that. This is a simple idea. It could be put up within a year, I'm pretty sure. I mean, let's be real here. Since Trump doesn't even have a clue as to what's going on with the fence, he stole the idea from me. So, and he even stole the invisible fence idea. They called it, a week later, they called it the invisible fence was called the see-through wall. A week later. Oh, he has your idea too, Dave. It's the see-through wall. Coffee did help your prostate cancer. That's good. Yeah, just stay away from chemicals. Mostly the zero sweeteners, they are like poison. When you sit down at the table and your mom goes, honey, could you pass me the zero sweetener? And you see her hair turning gray and she's getting all gray herself. She's turning into a blue hair. Say, Mom, hey, that's not really that good for you. You may not want to do that. Studies have shown that in laboratory studies that it causes cancer in laboratory animals, and she still does it. And then you just say, well, whatever. I can see how that would be. Anyway, the $1 billion idea, I measured the number of containers we needed, and then I multiplied by approximately $2,000 a container, because I can get these these things for $2,000 wholesale off the docks in Galveston. Galveston, oh Galveston. And then we'll load them up to El Paso. We'll have them on 18-wheelers. We'll drop them right where they need to be. And we line them up kind of loosely. And then we bring in the illegal aliens that are in our prison system. And 30 illegal aliens can push these onto some gravel. So what we need to do is get like D10 tractors and build a gravel area. And we just roll these right onto the gravel. And once they're on the gravel, 30 men can drop them into position. And then we auger them in. And then weld the augers to the baseboards. That's the way to lock them in place. Otherwise, 30 Mexicans could push them, a massive, huge amount of Mexicans running into our country could. Plus, we weld them together. So your mom's hair is not gray at 57, and she never eats fake sweetener. And she's a hottie. Right on. Yeah. You and your mom must be quite a pair when you go out on the town. Must be like, having fun with your mom. A lot of people are not that close to their parents. I was really close to my father, more so than my mother was kind of distant, but I talked to her every day that I could, and had long conversations with her. But my dad and I were really close. He and I, we just worked together really well. I had a great relationship with him. All right, let's move on to brighter things here. Obviously. Here we go. Party people. Let's do that one.
Do you hate normal people?
Okay, that was awesome. That was Party People. Party People. I love that one. Yeah. All right. That's Scissor Fight, by the way, that does all of the audio editing that we bring to the show that usually evades copyright attacks, but we had another one recently on an older song that you had. I just keep sending in submissions saying contesting it, and I usually win. And it's because you're using software that other people use software, and then they claim it's their idea when we're all using copyright-free software. They can't have an idea. When I created Mr. Right, it's using a program called Magix.com, Magix.com. The program is freely available. You guys can download Mr. Right and make it into whatever you want. I just pieced it together to make it sound good to me, and it came out really good, in my opinion. Yeah, they're ripping off Magix, and they're claiming it's theirs, and it's ridiculous. Magix is the proprietary owner, and they do this because they really want to sell their product. And they have a lot of really good, amazing loops that you can add to music. And I was thinking of buying a couple of their ultimate packages because I really do enjoy playing with music. NASA playing God with geoengineering. Oh yeah, that's been happening. It's a good discussion tonight, considering it's Wasteful Wednesday.
However, NASA does need to test these engines once in a while. So they built this place in the wetlands of Mississippi. The first thing they installed was a huge loudspeaker, through which they played white noise to simulate the sound of a rocket. They then sent a number of trucks in different directions out into the wilderness, and the drivers were ordered to stop when the noise levels became acceptable. This gave them an imaginary boundary line, and anyone living on the inside of it was offered a simple choice. Stay, and you'll never hear another television program as long as you live. Or take the NASA shilling and get out. No one stayed, and NASA ended up with exactly what it wanted. 125,000 acres of nothing.
Wow. No kidding.
They even had to move 5 cemeteries because the noise they were planning on making would wake the dead. Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. That's unbelievable. Oh. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was pretty good. NASA playing God, making their own weather. Stop weather warfare. Wow, that was really good. BBC. I had never seen that before. You know, you watch the show long enough, you see new things. That is pretty amazing. And one final day in our January month here. Amazing. You can use it to steam cook your Chinese. Yeah, I understand that they're actually creating evaporators in and around the Yucatan Peninsula, that they actually have these evaporators that create these massive clouds that lead to the weather conditions of a hurricane. And they're able to trigger the hurricane by spinning it from different sides with phased array radar, directed beam energy. And I know that this sounds kind of wild in space age, but it really is happening. And our government is almost open about it, except they're not. They're not telling anybody in the mainstream media. They're not telling anybody officially in the government. They're not making an issue of it. But they're able to create hurricanes. HAARP is used. The High Frequency Active Auroral Research Project from Alaska was the first one to be tested. And now across the globe, there must be a 30 of these directed energy weapon systems, all positioned to send phased array radar in different directions. And they're able to create weather, they're able to play God. And many of us don't even know what they're doing, and we certainly aren't in control of our government. If you're still voting Democrat or Republican, you've got to admit, they're not helping you. Maybe you saved some money on your tax returns this year, but they're not helping you directly. They're not helping your kids get a low-cost education. They're acting like a corporation outsourcing labor. Our government is. Even Barack Obama ordered $9 billion in construction work from China on our bridges. He didn't hire Americans, mind you. He hired national Chinese. And they still have those contracts, and Trump is still honoring them. So when Trump talked about getting welders out there to America and helping them, he didn't talk about a training program for young men and women to become welders on our bridges. He never discussed that because he has no program like that. Thank you, ma'am. Yes, thank you very much. So this is an effort to build a bridge between the left and the right, somewhere in the middle, that we can solve problems. I don't want to spend tons of money, the taxpayer dollars, just like the Democrats don't want to spend $25 billion on a wall. But the container wall is the simplest solution. And it's easily done, considering we have so many containers that are empty now because our trade has declined considerably over the years since the early days, the boom years of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and then gradually our trade has gone to a trickle. So we don't need a lot of these containers. We're making good use of them. And the prison labor, like illegal aliens who could work to push these in position, could veritably get their freedom in, say, 90 days of work, working on the border. And we'd have mobile homes with cots in them and bathroom facilities with showers. And everyone would be able to, live under lock and key, of course. They're still prisoners. But very Trump-esque, really. They're still prisoners, but they're not in any way, enslaved in our system, which is costing us $26 billion a year to warehouse illegal aliens. We have huge amounts of illegal aliens in our prison system. Howdy, Jackson. Yeah, we have quite a few. Our prison system is huge, by the way. It's a huge drain on our government. I don't exactly know what the prison costs are, but I should find that out at the monthly Treasury report tonight. I usually look at the monthly Treasury report on Wednesday. So most people in government don't do this, and I'm not in government, so we can do it. We look at the numbers, and we go to the most recent case of expenditure, and we just take a look at those. October, November PDF. We click on that. November of 2016 is the most recent, 2017 is the most recent list. And the yellow area is where we're overspending. That yellow is our government overspending what we have to spend. Can you put the Magix link up? Thank you. Oh, sure. Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. You guys over at Hi Jackson, iVlog can watch it too. And some people have problems getting in here, and they can't really find a way to get into our show, so they go in through iVlog. iVlog is running currently. If you don't know where iVlog is, it is this location right here. I'm going to screen grab the location. You can look at it. That's our iVlog location. All right, looking at this. You can't really do a word search. You have to go through all the different ways the government is spending money. And I think the judicial branch has the budget outlay for prisons. I'm not sure, but Department of Homeland Security. The budget for Department of Homeland Security has just grown over the years. About $10 billion a month, $120 billion. It started 10 years ago it was $57 billion, now it's up to $110 billion. Department of Homeland Security. But I don't think our prison budget is covered under that. I think it's the Justice Department. Anyway, here we go. Federal prison system. Basically $500 million or more. $600 million a month. So we easily are paying a tremendous amount for the federal prison system, and the state prison system is draining the states as well. All right, getting the costs of government down is kind of our theme tonight. This container wall will do the trick that Donald Trump wants to do for $25 billion. We'll do it for $1 billion. Easy day, yeah, good, nice. You don't want a busy day at work, that's for sure. You're making a large bolognese for your meals. That's cool. I'm thinking of making a wrap tomorrow for my dinner. I'm having this vision of a tuna wrap with all the goodies inside of a tuna wrap, with a can of lobster pate that I have with lettuce. That's what I'm thinking of, making a mock lobster rock and roll. Yes. Instead of rock and roll, we'll make it wrap and roll. Mock lobster wrap and roll. That will be my food for tomorrow. Okay. Ace Spade, I propose you shut your mouth and don't speak again in this chat room, because you have nothing but shit coming out of your mouth. Sorry to say. Wow, unreal. Guys, lucky to be in here. Hey, San Francisco is going to wipe thousands of marijuana convictions off the books. Well, that's a good thing. Yay. That's really good. We don't need the prisoners in the jails costing you money when all they did was take a perfectly good medicinal piece of really strong indica bud right there and, get caught with it. San Francisco will retroactively apply California marijuana legalization laws to the past criminal cases, expunging or reducing misdemeanor and felony convictions going back decades. Unprecedented move will affect thousands of people whose marijuana convictions brand them with criminal histories that can hurt chances of finding jobs and obtaining some government benefits. Well, good job. Thank you. The legislators of California are working diligently to make that happen. I don't have a brother named that. Sorry. No one by that name. Hey, welcome everybody at iVlog. Yeah, it's a container wall idea I have to save the government a ton of money. And of course, I'm the original creator of the 1,000-mile fence that Donald Trump took the idea. And this idea is a very practical way of getting the job done. It's a 24-foot wall. The containers will be activated with propane cylinders that will have a specific weaponization feature, which will allow certain charges of the propane systems to actually incinerate anybody who tries to breach the wall. We'll also have videonics, all kinds of video cameras, surveillance cameras, hardwired and Wi-Fi directly out of the system. So we have a redundant system. We'll also have the ability to, once we incinerate the person, we'll be able to open up the unit and actually it'll dust the person out, whoever that person is. It'll be a vacuum. Or maybe we'll just leave the dust on the floor. It won't really matter. There won't be any meat once we incinerate them. Actually, it would take like 5 or 6 hours to incinerate them at 4,000 degrees, so that would be a waste of energy. So you're right. We should make little doors in them. But then that kind of defeats the whole purpose of getting in them. So how are we going to get rid of the bodies if we incinerate them? I don't understand. It's going to be a problematic thing. Well, there will be a hole on the other side if they got in, so we can get them out that way. We'll just have to jump over the fence and pull the body out. We could use solar panels on top of all these and on the sides. So an array of solar panels would be really beneficial. Solar array. And imagine all the sun exposure we'll have on the south side. South side. That's what I'm talking about. Well, Hitler is not involved in this. This is a very fair and kind and benevolent thing we're doing. We don't want people to get hurt at the border wall when we're trying desperately to help our country survive the coming zombie apocalypse or whatever's coming. I mean, it's just a guarantee, a safety feature, along with the fencing. Yeah. It's not like I'm trying. I don't want to hurt anybody. I mean, I'm not asking to have somebody break in the wall and try to get incinerated. It's not like I want bad things to happen to people. So we'll put solar panels along the sides here of all of the units, like that. You get the point. I'm not gonna, or am I going to? I guess I could do it. Real-time graphics. Yep. So every side could have a nice solar panel attached to it. Are you with me now? Generating energy. That's right. I'm going to ask you not to talk. Thank you. Chad, you're on thin ground here tonight. Last night was a disaster. Trying to make us feel sorry for you because you can't get a date. I mean, come on, man. I mean, if you can't recognize the need to get your act together, that's the incentive for a lot of young men to get a date, believe it or not. It's a natural incentive. And it's one of the reasons why it is difficult for you to get your act together, because women don't want to, live with a person that doesn't have their act together. So you have an obligation to do that. Don't complain to me about not being able to get a date. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and just get your act together. Hey, Walter. Welcome, Walter, but we don't allow Satanists in the room. Walter Cronkite, everybody. The reigning Satanist. Walter Cronkite. And that's the way it is. January 31st, 2018. Walter Cronkite actually did endorse Satan on camera. Because he endorses this New World Order, we're pretty sure he was a Satanist. The New World Order has nothing good to say about it. If you are still a believer that the New World Order is going to save this country, thank you. I was doing his voice at one time. Then you're completely off your rocker. The New World Order is never going to help us. And Walter Cronkite is not going to.
World government is the structure necessary for global justice.
I'm in a position to speak my mind, and by God, I'm going to do it. First, we Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill. Today, we must develop federal structures on a global level. To deal with world problems, we need a system of enforceable world law, a democratic federal world government. Most important, we should sign and ratify the Treaty for a Permanent International Criminal Court. Pat Robertson has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, and literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
World.
Okay, you heard it from his mouth. He worshipped a world government, regardless of Pat Robertson's wish for the Messiah. That's an irrelevant statement. The bottom line is, this is Albert Pike crap. This is New World Order stuff. And let it be known that Walter Cronkite was a CIA agent. Many of you don't know that. Gloria Steinem, who started the feminist movement, was a CIA agent. No, Albert Pike. Albert Pike was the guy who kind of led us to the Civil War. He was an Illuminatist, a 33rd degree Mason, who worked as a Mason for the Confederacy. He's the only Confederate with a statue in Washington, D.C. right now. You notice how there's no gathering of people in D.C. to try to take down the Albert Pike Confederate statue? No mention of that by the KKK groups in D.C. trying to defend it. And no Democrats trying to take it down because he's protected. He was a Mason. He controlled the whole dialectic between the North and the South, which was a contrived event which killed 500,000, 600,000 Americans. Whether you're from the South or the North, you were still American in my eyes. African ambassadors expressed disappointment after meeting with Kellyanne Conway. Racism, the allegations of racism, still very, very much alive ever since Donald Trump took on. It's kind of cool. I'm putting the pictures on the side. Yeah, we'll have LED screens on the side of every. Every single. We'll have large LED screens telling Hispanics or anybody who's coming in from Mexico, could be Bulgarians, no entrada, or we will incinerate you in the incinerator chambers. Yeah, I don't want to hurt people. I just don't want them to break into our country. But I'm not racist. I really do want legal immigration. But African ambassadors expressed disappointment after meeting with Kellyanne Conway. It could be she's too busy with the opioid crisis to help them. Maybe she was trying out some of the opioids just to see how they worked. When the president's advisor didn't discuss Africa, some participants were confused. Wow. During an interview at the White House, she didn't even mention Africa. African ambassadors attending a State Department organized a conversation with Kellyanne Conway left the event disappointed the White House counselor didn't address the president's alleged incendiary remarks about immigration from countries he considered undesirable. The shitholes that he called, allegedly, but he was overheard by Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham to say the word shithole regarding Haiti and Africa. So Conway, a key architect of Trump's presidential bid and one of his top surrogates, spoke to a group of ambassadors, including ones from Africa, on Tuesday morning at the prestigious Blair House near the White House. The event, organized by the State Department's Protocol Office, was open to all ambassadors in Washington, and diplomats from 120 countries were RSVP'd. Anyone focused on Trump's achievements during the first year in office, and she focused on that and previewed his State of the Union speech, but she said almost nothing on his priorities for Africa, leaving some participants confused and bewildered. According to two people in attendance and two sources briefed on the meeting, one African ambassador speaking on condition of anonymity told EFP, foreignpolicy.com, that while Conway didn't bring up African policy, the meeting was positive and that someone with Trump's inner circle was actually met with them. Yeah, I noticed that there was a Ugandan leader who said he loves Trump, so some Africans really like him. No, that's not true, Chad. No, you're a person who needs to get your act together and find something attractive that others would find attractive. Now, one person at iBlog said, I told my son when he lived at home, think about what kind of woman you'd want to love and be the kind of man she would want. That's a very wise thing you said. Yeah. Be the kind of man that you know that the woman you want would want. Think about it, Chad. Yeah. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. We're going to have to give you a little tough love there, buddy. The signature line from Trump's speech is already a white nationalist rallying cry. Look at this. This is how quick things happen in America on the right. They breed like farm animals. Bah. The right wing is up and pushing again. Donald Trump's first State of the Union was largely a banal speech with few policy details, and none of his signature asides and bravado. Overall, the reception of the speech has been cool. A CNN flash poll found it had the lowest net positive rating for a State of the Union address since at least 1998. One line, however, stood out. My duty and the sacred duty of every elected official in this chamber is to defend Americans, to protect their safety, their families, their communities, and their right to the American dream. because Americans are dreamers too. The line mirrored Trump's language last September when he announced that he would rescind the DACA program that provided legal protection for undocumented immigrants brought to the United States as children, a group known as Dreamers. Young Americans have dreams too, Trump said. The argument for DACA and the DREAM Act, which would give a similar group permanent legal status, is the Dreamers are Americans. They had no choice in the decision to come to the United States. They grew up here, and in many cases, they had no connection to any other country. But Trump's turn of phrase turns this concept on its head and pits Americans against Dreamers. It was a message that was quickly embraced by white nationalists who paired the phrase with stock photos of white people. Prominent white nationalist Richard Spencer, for instance, posted this image on Twitter during the Trump speech. There he is. Americans are dreamers too, and he has his beautiful white family there. Okay. So it's basically celebrated in a similar way on Gab, a social network that caters to white nationalists. So the Americans are dreamers too is being endorsed by the white nationalist movement. You know, I can't understand why David Duke would endorse Trump when he simply doesn't realize that Trump is a Zionist. We have a bigger fight ahead. You people who are white nationalists don't realize we have a fight against a new world order, not against African Americans or Jewish people per se. We have a fight against a group of greedy Ashkenazis, the same kind of people that tried to take over Germany. We've got a bigger problem than your petty prejudices. No, I'm not into it. I brought up white people last night. I thought, it's worth talking about the fact that he's not stopping affirmative action. He has done nothing to repeal that. He's not really doing anything for the average American. I mean, I was discussing the possibility of training programs for young people in high schools that are paired off with Google and Facebook and Amazon and Microsoft. And all these companies could hire people, and we could lower the pay scale at those companies to accommodate more people. But Trump hasn't put anything in place for white training programs or people training programs, white, black, Hispanic, just people getting trained, Americans getting trained. He's not doing anything for that. We're letting an entire class of people drop out of college because Donald Trump doesn't understand the importance of the first 3 or 4 years out of high school. He doesn't get that. And I do. I was largely affected by that period more than most people would ever imagine. I was a #1 high school student in my class. I was the first person out the door on graduation day at a 4.0. And I couldn't get a college scholarship. I couldn't get money. I couldn't get anything. It wasn't enough to go to college for me. So I had to literally move on to business. I went to 1 year in college and loved it, but couldn't get the funding to stay in it. It's really kind of pathetic what happened to me. And I don't want that to happen to you, because a lot of you young people have to wait till you're 25 to have independent status if your parents do like they did to me and not pay for my education. So either taking out loans is an option, which I don't recommend, or getting a low-cost education plan for young people right now, paired with a job. And maybe even 6-week to 6-month education plans for people to start working right away. That would be really, really beneficial for getting a lot of you people on the right track. He's not addressing the snowflake generation, the people that feel totally left out. He's not addressing the young men who are like Chad, who's feeling like, no, I'm not done with you, Chad. College is important. And if you don't understand the importance of going to college, you'll never meet a girl, okay? Chad, you're denying all the great ideas that are in front of you. If you're a young person, you can go to college. You'll meet a woman in college, I guarantee it. Don't miss out on this opportunity, Chad. Get into a local community college with a Pell Grant or something right now. False rape accusations have been epidemic toward men. Well, bottom line is we cannot assess any of these sexual allegations by women until we actually see a case migrate to a court. So far, Larry Nassar was the only person charged with any crime so far in the past 5 months of revelations about sexual predators. Ever since Donald Trump we started hearing about his 12 escapades with women that are complaining about him. The whole story has been in front of us, but there's no prosecution going on. So I'm not about to prosecute women who are saying these things when there's no prosecution of the men that are allegedly doing these things. There's no civil cases pending. Gloria Allred talks a lot, but I think she settles out of court in almost every case. I don't see a lot of her cases going to trial. All right. Yeah, get an education. At least it'll help you get a job, even if it's in hotel management, Chad. Because you look like you could sit at a front desk and go, "Hi, how can I help you with your room? I'm Chad. Can I help you in any way find a nice place to stay tonight?" That'll be a 2-year education. And you'll be making $15-20 an hour. And you'll meet women at the same time. But just don't come in here with your sad case story, man. It's like sad sack. Ooh, and he never takes any of my recommendations seriously. He will meet a girl who wants to make a life for herself. Right. And you'll go, "Oh, maybe I have to get a life." Russian spy chiefs met in Washington with CIA director to discuss counterterrorism. Okay. I don't know if you heard this, but a year and a half ago, Donald Trump, a year ago, as soon as he became president, he was talking about having Russian intelligence handle our cybersecurity. I swear I heard it on the news. I have not seen it ever since, but I don't know. This looks like something similar. Hey, we got to start the show, so we'll do that in just a bit. Yeah. All right. That was the pre-show, everybody, and I'm going to drop off the record on this and then start up a new record, which may upload separately. We'll see. Thanks for watching this first hour of America's Third Party. Take care.